Good morning. So today's April 25th. My goal is to shoot a full garden walk around on the first of every month, and every week shoot whatever's special or whatever's changed. I'm in zone 8A/8B, about an hour north of Columbia, South Carolina. So my garden style is what you call wabi-sabi cottage style. So it is a little wild and woolly, and I like it that way. Wabi-sabi is an Asian term that means finding beauty in imperfection, and I think that's exactly what my garden is. I work a full-time job. I don't have time to weed. I kind of let everything kind of grow into each other. There's a little bit of, best of luck. I don't do a lot of watering or fertilizing. I very rarely fertilize. If I do, it's typically a small amount. It's also always organic. I don't spray any pesticides. I figure they need to eat too. So I just plant more plants and share with them. So these pots actually have wildflowers in them, the two on the right. The one on the left is rainbow Swiss char. You see I've got some more char. I've got some more seedlings started. Got some, I think that's celosia. And there's zinnias. And I forget what I planted there. That's something else that I'm really bad at. I don't label what I plant. And a lot of times I'll put seeds in a pot. I'll wait a week. If nothing comes up, I'll throw different seeds in. And then I forget what I put in the pot. So it's always a surprise. Which I like that. I like the surprise of gardening. Just kind of seeing what comes up. Because I don't know what I put in, and I don't label. Again, you can see these. I think they're sunshine ligustrum. They're just a little bit wild and woolly. They're just doing their own thing, happy as can be. Got several pots up here that I hope to be moving to a plant stand that I purchased that isn't here yet. But this is all going to move to the backyard at some point. Got a big tub of bulbs and what is that? I gotta think on that. Let me get closer. Oh, you know what? That is a baby poppy. And here are my alliums that are in full bloom. Aren't they beautiful? And then you can see behind, again, it's just kind of wild and woolly. Got a hardy hibiscus here. I've actually got a total of 3 of those. I've got 2 in this courtyard and I've got 1 in the backyard. So that is a Sarah Barnhart peony. As everyone knows, peonies tend to take 2 to 3 years before they bloom. So I do not expect blooms this year. That bush is actually a serviceberry bush. And then I've got another serviceberry over here that gave me a split for some reason. And it's pretty tall. Hoping I get some serviceberries this year. I did not last year. And I love serviceberries. I've got serviceberries and blueberry bushes. Got a volunteer tomato that I'm just leaving there. And then another cold hardy hibiscus. It's not doing as well because it doesn't get as much sun. But I planted it here because it's closer to the house and it's protected from the wind. It's protected from the cold a little bit. So I was thinking that would help it. I'm just walking around the courtyard. I like a little touch of whimsy and fun in my garden. So I've got these. They look like peacocks. And I do have the fountain turned off right now because while it's beautiful, it's a little bit loud when you're recording. If you go out the courtyard gate, Got a begonia in there. I forget what kind that is. Again, I don't label what I've got in my garden, so I apologize. I don't remember the names of all of them. I've got 4 pots that flank this walk path. So I've got a dracaena in that one. You can see the windmill palm. And then over here, that bed is what I call my daffodil bed. I've got over 100 daffodils in it. I'm actually going to try to grow wildflowers in there this year. We'll have to see. I do have a guy that helps just cut grass, weed eat, and stuff like that. And last season, he sprayed Roundup all in that bed. Killed a lot of the daffodils because there was still green leaves on them, as well as everything else in there. So I'm hoping the glyphosate has gone away so that I can actually go in there and grow some wildflowers. We'll have to wait and see. And then I really don't have any more flower beds, but I do up here have my flower table. So every Friday, work permitting, I cut a bunch of cut flowers out of my yard and I put them out on that table for the neighborhood. It's kind of a community service. I ask for donations, but honestly, I get like 35 cents, $2. I don't get a lot of money in donations. It really doesn't cover the cost of even the materials. But again, it's a community service. It makes people in the neighborhood happy to get fresh flowers. So I'm going to continue to do it. Again, this is a little bit early. It's April 25th. I'm shooting this for the May walkabout because I'm going to be traveling for work. So I'm going to start the backyard tour up here on the deck. You see Raleigh Boy there. And then you've got a tea plant that is beautifully red, especially in that sunlight. Got some ivy. Got some Indian rope plant. And that is eucalyptus in that pot over there. Now, eucalyptus, I'll show you my other eucalyptus here in a little bit. I actually bought that as a tiny little plug, and then it's grown into that. I tried eucalyptus from seed. I had 0 success. So just to give you a heads up. And sorry about the shade. We'll get down there and look at everything down there in a minute. Now this is a sunchoke in a pot. It is in a terracotta pot. It dries out very quickly. So I'm constantly having to add more water to it. This thing will be absolutely full of sunflower looking bright yellow flowers here probably in the next 3 weeks. And then we got Willow. Hey Willow. Hey baby girl. You gonna come with mama? This is some calibrachoa and a daisy. And I think I've got some weeds in there I need to pull out. This is my cute little bunny pot. I forget what plant's in there. That is some calibrachoa that was on the 50% off almost dead rack at Lowe's. and I just potted it up. This is the side yard. Again, we'll look down there a little bit closer here in a little bit. That is my greenhouse / she shed. That's Lake Watery down there. Hey, Chrissy Ann. Hey, Chrissy. What are you eating? I have tons of these Pugster purple butterfly bushes, or buddleia. I absolutely love them. You can see I kind of let them go a little bit wild. They're not shaped. I like that. This is actually a hardy lilac. It has never bloomed for me, but it's still alive, so I'm hopeful that we'll get some blooms. And this is my hosta garden that is up underneath the deck and the 3-season porch. Got some beautiful hostas in here. And I apologize, I need to pressure wash. We've got somebody scheduled to come pressure wash, I think next week or the week after. So this is actually wheat in a pot, and I'm growing wheat mainly just for the animals, the birds, and we have wild rabbits and deer and everything, and at some point I'm going to move that outside the fence so that the wildlife can enjoy it. Now, one of the things you'll notice in my yard is that everything isn't always filled in. That's because I do a ton of growing from seeds. I very rarely actually buy plants. And you'll see there's a hole right there where I took out a white buddleia and I moved it over there yesterday. It is struggling a little bit. It did not like being transplanted. The buddleia is very, very resilient. I think it's going to come back. And again, you'll see that there are bare spots where I planted seed. They just hadn't come up yet. Speaking of growing stuff from seed, this dahlia here actually grew from seed and it is blooming now. I think it is so beautiful. I'm very excited about that. Matter of fact, all the dahlias in this bed were all from seed. These are my snapdragons. I think they're absolutely beautiful. I love them. They always come up so early in the spring and they're so cheerful. There's Chrissy Ann again. Hey, Chrissy. Hello. See Raleigh Boy back there at the hot tub. And then I've got a whole bunch of stuff in here. Again, it's very wabi-sabi. Very just beauty and imperfection. Nothing is really kept or trimmed or tight, which I like. I've got a iris growing up in my Japanese bloodgood maple. Isn't that beautiful? I've got some clematis back here that's just starting to grow back out and flower. So clematis, if you haven't heard, clematis like their feet in the shade and their head in the sun. So they definitely have the shade here for their feet, but they need to climb up these. Over here is kind of my rain barrel and some of my composters. I've got a bed out here that is mint. Yes, I know that is mint in the ground and it will go crazy, but we have huge amounts of deer here, so I have to find things that I can put outside the fence that the deer won't eat. And the one thing that I found that deer will not eat is mint. Everything else that says is deer resistant, the deer eat anyway. And I've got a rosemary to kind of cover up the maintenance area of the compost and the water barrel. I've got another compost bin here, so I've got a total of 3 compost bins, so I never have to buy compost. I just make my own. This is a bed of oregano. It is not looking good. This is a raised bed, so it's up off the ground. And oregano wants more water than what it's getting in this raised bed, so it is not happy. This bed over here was bok choy that is well past its prime. I haven't cleaned it out because I wanted to let it go to seed. That's another thing I do, is I'll purposely let stuff go to seed and reseed itself. You'll even see there's a lettuce back here that I'm letting flower and go to seed. I get a lot of free plants this way. You'll see there's a cilantro that was a reseed, so it's a freebie. It's a volunteer. This metal trellis is for my tomato plant. This was a volunteer. This was a freebie seed, and I just put it in this pot. I've got more of this sunchoke. Now sunchoke is easy to divide because they're tubulars. They're almost like they're almost kind of like little potatoes that are in the ground, and you can divide them in the fall. You can actually eat them too, and I've brought a couple in and we've washed them and roasted them up, and they're not bad. I don't see it as a food source because I use them more for flowers, but you know, they're not bad. This bed right here is a new bed. Everything in it came from the 50% off rack at Lowe's, with the exception of the bulbs in the back. The bulbs in the back I had in something else, and I moved them over here because I wanted to fill in the bed. But I think these are just absolutely beautiful. You buy them half dead at Lowe's, 50% off. Give them a little bit of love, and look how beautiful they are. Then I've got a amaryllis bed. I've recently discovered amaryllis can be used in a vase with cut flowers, and they're absolutely beautiful. You cut them before they open all the way, and then they'll actually open in your vase over time. So I had one that I gave my neighbor, and she had an amaryllis flowering for a month, and it was absolutely beautiful. So I've got white, I've got the pink and white, which is just gorgeous. And then I've got a red over there that's spent. But look at this. This hadn't even opened yet. Now this is a little early before I would cut it to put in a vase, but it's not far. Probably by this weekend I'll be ready to cut it. And then these are at the end of their life. I like to leave some in the garden because, again, I like things to self-seed and reseed for themselves so that I can get free plants. I also like to divide the tubers occasionally, again, for free plants. Now this is where I had a tree taken down, so it doesn't look very good right now, but you can see I've got lantana that's coming back up. I planted right here, you'll see I planted a little bit of canna lilies, so I'm hoping those will come up. And then I need to come out here and get weeds out. So over here, this is actually a birdhouse gourd plant that is really enjoying where it's at. I'm hoping that it will attach to the fence and grow along the fence, but we shall see. Got a couple things in this little raised planter. Then this is thyme, which is doing excellent. Honeysuckle vine that I'm letting grow on the fence. This bed I've got some various things in. You'll see I kind of mix vegetables and flowers all in together. And I have a lot of flowers for cut flowers because I do cut flowers every Friday that I can and put them out at the table by the road so that neighbors can come by and they can just grab some flowers and they can have a flower arrangement on their table. These are some lilies. You can see they're almost as tall as my fence. Now, spring onions. I let mine go wild because the flowers I think are pretty, number one. Number two, pollinators love them. You will see I've got a little pollinator right there. Maybe you can see, I don't know. And there's another one coming in. Got horseradish there. That's some various things. Isn't that a nice little pretty delicate flower? These are carnations. Carnations are part of the dianthus family. And they're not quite opened yet, but I'm looking forward to them opening. They are white. And I think they'll be a great addition to my cut flowers. These are daylilies. And then this, I've got some creeping phlox. There's a marigold, and then there's a volunteer. Right here I've got a David Austin climbing rose. The idea is it will climb up this trellis and it will meet up with the other David Austin climbing rose on the other side. So I'm hoping that this trellis will be covered with Lady Banks yellow roses in the very near future. Unfortunately, the deer keep eating them. So I haven't been able to get them to start climbing yet because the deer love to eat them. Then I've got some canna lilies here. And I think that's a cucumber and some volunteer 4 o'clocks in that pot right there. And I've got it right behind my hydrangeas, which is probably not the best location because they don't get tons of sun. But I found that we have such hot, humid summers that sometimes a little bit of shade is beneficial for plants. So what I had there last year, loved it. This year we'll have to see if the cucumber gets enough sun. So I'll walk you down. Again, that's Lake Watery in the back. You will see that I have what I call natural areas. These are unkept, unmowed, not touched by people, just wild areas. I like to support the wildlife in the area. I like to share with them, so I have this area where they can come and... Oh, there's a wood duck. Isn't he handsome? That's another thing I love about living where we do. It's like National Geographic in our backyard. Then we've got a couple of hammocks. And I'm not going to walk you up there today, but up on the second deck of the second story of the dock, there are 2 more hammocks. We have a total of 3 hammocks. Those 2 on top of the dock are in the sun. This one is in the shade. We've got our fire pit. Over on our point, we've got a swing set. We've got a fire stack for our fire pit. And as you can see again, I just let this area go natural and go wild. So it's not mowed, it's not weeded. We don't do anything over here. We just kind of let nature take its course. Alright, and with that I will give you another look of the duck as he swims off.